Welcome back to 101 East. 1 year after Cyclone Nargis hit Myanmar's Irrawaddy Delta region, we went to remote corners of the area and found in every village a strong will to survive and even prosper. Villagers are grateful for the help they've received, but they're matching it with their own hard work, often organising relief efforts so that the worst off can benefit. San Pia is one such village near the town of Phiapone. A boat trip reveals how far the millions of people who live here have come in the year since Cyclone Nargis hurled into the Delta region. The devastation and death in this area is comparable to what happened in Aceh, Indonesia, or Sri Lanka after the tsunami. But this is Myanmar. This area is about 4 hours' drive from Myanmar's biggest city, Yangon. But even here, you can see how a little aid can go a long way on the road to recovery. There may not be enough to go round, but the villagers are making the most of it. Over here, homes that may not even withstand the coming monsoon season. You can see the tarpaulin is worn after all this time, but over here, a more permanent structure. It's a very uneven process. So we wanted to find out who decides what gets rebuilt and how. And what we found was a village with a new sense of purpose after Nargis. They're trying to help the very weakest in the community. Myat Tan Tan U survived the storm, but at a huge personal cost. She lost her newborn baby, and the shock caused her to lose the use of her legs and hands. A tree fell on her husband's leg, and because they couldn't afford good health care, he had to have his leg amputated. Their home was destroyed, and their prospects were bleak, but they didn't expect or ask for any help. Then the village was approached by United Nations Habitat, who had enough funds for 5 homes to be rebuilt. They formed a shelter committee, who had the difficult task of deciding who should get them. It turns out that the process of organising and reaching a consensus within the community had its own value beyond the aid money. This committee member, Do Tin Tin Kaing, told us that she felt that the way they discussed the issue with each other and got agreement was a new and good experience. She says they learnt how to work as a team and how to help each other. Myat Tan Tan U and her husband have a good house now. Her husband wasn't around because he'd gone to Yangon to train to become a hairdresser, but neighbours help. I asked her what the first anniversary of Cyclone Nargis meant to her.
On the Nargis anniversary, I feel very happy with my situation with the nice house, but I feel very sorry for other families. They have no such house like us.
It's taken a village to raise the living standards of the most vulnerable here. It's taken the generosity of donors, both from Myanmar and abroad, to help them make a start on rebuilding. Not just because of what it can buy, but because, as one villager told us, it means they feel they're not alone. Myanmar's opposition leader Aung San Suu Kyi was recently arrested and put on trial for allegedly breaking the restrictions on her house arrest. International condemnation's been swift, raising fears that relations between the military government and international donors could be harmed. Bisho Parajuli is the resident coordinator for the UN Development Programme in Myanmar, effectively the highest-ranking UN official there. We caught up with him in Bangkok. Thank you very much, Mr. Parajuli, for joining us. As we travelled around the Delta region, we found that the situation was quite uneven. In some areas, life's back to normal. In others, it's desperate. What's been the real impact of the aid effort on the people of Myanmar?
Well, you know, the devastation was so big, enormous. 140,000 people died and nearly 3 million people displaced across the whole Irrawaddy Delta. So the progress in terms of relief has been going on relatively well. However, what's critical is the need and reaching everywhere to the same level, because the devastation was different at different places. So people have recovered fast in close-by areas, but not so fast in the far off, the mouth of the Irrawaddy Delta.
But the UN itself says less than 5% of shelter needs has been met, whereas in other comparable disasters, a year on, 30 to 40% has been met. What's gone wrong?
Well, you need to look this in two ways. During the first year or immediate after the Nargis, every household received tarpaulin and immediate help. But this concern of 5% is more like a sustainable housing we are talking about, sustainable shelter we are talking about. So nearly, let's say, out of the 600,000 people who lost every houses, and the estimate is about 130, 150,000 would need immediate sustainable shelter for them to be much more safer for the rainy season.
So to what extent has politics, do you think, affected the response to the UN's appeals for victims of the cyclone?
I hope it should not, because I think during the first year of the relief effort, the international community has been generous. We got about 315 million of the 477 million asked for. So I really want to thank the international community for that generosity. But there is still a lot to be done to help these people in terms of housing, agriculture, livelihood, education, and health, and preparedness. So we believe that the international community, which has been generous, will continue to be generous to help these people to come in terms and fully recover. And I guess this might take 3 to 4 years.
Isn't the real worry for donors that aid might not get to those who need it most? After all, the Myanmar government came under enormous criticism for the way it handled aid in the first few weeks after Nargis hit.
I think I can very much categorically say that the aid is reaching the people and there is a full transparency and accountability on the aid. The United Nations agencies, 16, 17 working on the ground, and over 50 international and national NGOs working on the ground are directly in touch with the community. Unfortunately, we don't have enough. If we have more resource, more could be done and more need to be done.
We're entering what could be a politically sensitive time for Myanmar. Are you worried that the recent arrest of Aung San Suu Kyi could have a negative impact on humanitarian efforts?
Well, my appeal would be is the people of Myanmar and people of Delta who have been affected by the Nargis have lost everything. We're talking about helping children to go to school. We're talking about HIV/AIDS victims to get the medicine. And so my appeal is to continue to look into these humanitarian need and continue to show generosity and support. That would be my appeal.
As we mentioned, we were allowed unrestricted access to the Delta region. It's a very unusual relaxation of government restrictions. We were accompanied by officials from state television everywhere we went, but they never prevented us from filming anything or speaking to anyone. Nevertheless, when parts of our report were broadcast before we left, we were told to return to Yangon to meet Information Ministry officials. They were not happy with our coverage, demanded our tapes, and even threatened to prevent us from leaving the country. In the end, the officials said there had been a misunderstanding, but we felt it was important that we mention the incident as an insight into how sensitive the government is and how difficult reporting is in Myanmar. Thanks for watching. I'm Veronica Pedrosa. Join us again next week for another edition of 101 East.